I believe in Halo Infinite. I believe in 343. And I've thought about making a video like this a few times over the last year because the progress of the game has definitely been slow. And I've waited to see how 343 would improve the game based on just objective issues with it and also community feedback. And this video really comes from a place of passion. I've long loved Halo. I still believe in the potential of the franchise. I'm not a developer, don't fully understand the development process. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes at 343, but I do believe the things I hope to see down the road, whether it's in the immediate future or years from now, are technically possible. They may not be necessary, but they're just really things I think would be cool. Some of them are just things that I think would drastically improve the player experience on a moment-to-moment basis and just in a long-term sense as well. I've provided timestamps in the description and a pinned comment if you want to skip around if you're not interested in a particular subject. 'Cause I do have a lot to say, so I totally understand if you want to skip around, but that's linked below if you need it. First and foremost, the technical issues got to be fixed. I know the community's been crying out about many things for a while, myself included. Notably, theater mode is practically inoperable. It functions, but it stutters, it skips, and is not as user-friendly as it needs to be. It desperately needs to be fixed. And on the subject of theater mode, I was thinking it could be used in tandem with the in-game report system that I know 343 is either implementing with the winter update or sometime in the future, where you can report people that you suspect are cheating. The game still is unfortunately pretty rampant with cheaters. I don't encounter them as much as I did on day one or really within the first few months, but it still does occasionally happen, which is a bummer. And it'd be nice if theater mode functioned in-game, not only just for the fun of it, but also to work in tandem with the in-game report system. Custom games are also pretty disastrous, which is unfortunate because custom games over the years has really been where I've made most of my memories with my friends in Halo. I still love standard multiplayer, still have a lot of fun with it, but custom games are by far and wide where I've had the most fun, and I would love if you could set up matches in safe settings and game modes, and it actually work the way it's intended would be nice. Desync's a big one as well. I haven't dealt with it as much as other people claim to have been dealing with it, but I have encountered it where I'll be in a gunfight and I'll go to take cover and I'll be behind a wall for at least a second or two, and then all of a sudden it says I've been shot in the head from the person I was just in the gunfight with, which can be very frustrating, especially if you're trying to evade someone in a battle and regroup with your teammates. And it happens more often than it should. I totally understand connection issues and cross-platform makes it pretty complex. Again, not a developer, so I don't know what it costs to fix that. I know 343's commented on it here and there over the last several months, but I'm not sure what the solution is there, but it desperately needs to be resolved because it does hinder the moment-to-moment experience on a fairly regular basis still to this day. And another thing that I don't think is a bug, but is definitely an issue, is I can hardly ever hear anything behind me in multiplayer. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. One of my best friends who I play with regularly complains about the same thing. I've heard a few other people over the last year comment on it, but not many. But I could swear every time I'm playing multiplayer, if someone's shooting behind me or creeping up behind me, blasting me, I can hardly hear them, if at all. It's resulted in a lot of deaths from behind. I do pay attention to my radar, so that helps a lot, but in those moments where I'm distracted by someone in front of me and someone's creeping up behind me shooting me, I can rarely ever turn around and actually deal with the situation without getting killed first, which is extremely frustrating, especially in a game where you're able to come back and win gunfights, even if someone gets the first shot on you, depending on the situation. I think the Battle Pass is fine, but not on its own. I think it would work much better in addition to a classic military ranking system similar to Halo 3. I think you should have a military rank for social modes and one for ranked. I'm glad that with the winter update, 343 is adding match-to-match experience, which is fascinating to me. It wasn't in there to begin with, but the fact that you earn experience based on wins versus losses, you get a bonus for winning, and you also get bonus experience for individual performance, which is what the game desperately needs, because unless you're playing with a group of friends, teamwork has essentially been non-existent most of the games I've played, because no one really has an incentive to win because you're not rewarded for doing so. So that is a major plus. Now the challenge system on paper I think makes a lot of sense, but it's not living up to its full potential. I think it can be reworked to really benefit the player and make the match-to-match experience even more enjoyable. I think experience gains should solely be through player expression and player individuality. So you play the game the way you want to in multiplayer with your friends, but have the challenge system reworked to expedite the rate at which you rank up. For example, if there's a weird challenge that says, get 25 melee kills or get 20 kills with the BR. If you want to do that, go for it. It'll help you rank up even faster. It'll boost your overall experience once you unlock that challenge. I also think it'd be a lot more fun if you unlocked new pieces of armor, specifically like rare and more legendary types of armor that 343 could really pour a lot of energy and creativity into, tied to specific challenges. I think I could go into multiplayer and campaign. For example, beat the campaign on legendary with a friend in co-op. Even if it's not the full game, but like beat the last mission with a friend, you unlock a really cool piece of armor or like a weapon charm or something. Same thing for multiplayer. Instead of just everyone unlocking the same items throughout the battle pass each season, I think it'd be way more interesting if people had to work for rewards. It'd be much more similar to Halo 3, where people that wore specific pieces of armor had a story to share about earning that piece of armor or whatever it may be. As the game stands, it's not nearly as interesting because everyone can unlock the same rewards depending on the rate at which they're playing the game. Same thing with the shop, which I'll share on a little bit, is that someone either bought that item or played longer than someone else to unlock it. I still think the shop should exist given it's a free-to-play game. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the shop as long as these new ideas or something similar to the ideas I'm sharing is implemented. And speaking of the shop, I'll go ahead and talk about customization. It's good to know that full cross-core customization is coming, although it's taking a long time. I'd really like if they reintroduced the original color customization and emblem customization. Again, in addition to what already exists. For example, in the color customization, you can have your classic primary and secondary colors. You can create emblems from scratch like you used to, in addition to what 343 provides. 343 could really focus on the crazier, more highly detailed coatings they can either purchase, unlock through challenges, or through the battle pass, as well as emblems they've created themselves if players decide they want that instead. And one idea I've had for a while that isn't totally necessary, but I think would be cool, is that I noticed in the weapon bench, there's a section for a weapon model. And I know that's there to swap out muzzles and stocks and triggers, and I think there might be scopes or something there too, I can't remember. But I've always thought it'd be kind of cool if you could use different models of the same weapon from Halo's history. For example, if you wanted to use the Halo 2 BR model, you can use that. It still functions the same as the current BR, just to not throw off the sandbox. But it looks and sounds like the Halo 2 BR. Same thing for the Halo 4 BR, or like the Halo 3 assault rifle, or the Halo 1 sniper. Looks like it and sounds like it, but still plays the same as the current weapons in the game, just to not throw off the sandbox. Seeing as Halo's medal system is pretty iconic with double kills, triple kills, killing spree, killing frenzy, running riot, I've always thought it'd be cool if Infinite took a page out of Apex Legends book and provided players with a stat sheet that enabled them to add their favorite stats to the sheet that is revealed at the start of a match when it shows your player, or even on your personal profile that shows your armor and campaign completion and everything. For example, the match starts, shows your player with a stat sheet, and your sheet has something like 400 double kills, 200 no scopes, stuff like that. I think it'd be so cool and further adds to that player expression, and also makes those medals in game even more satisfying, as you know you'll get to show them off later. I'd also like to see improved vehicle durability. I think every vehicle in the game, especially the Banshee, just gets destroyed way too quickly. There's also an abundance of ways to bring vehicles down. So the skewer and rocket launcher and a couple of others capable of bringing down vehicles pretty quickly are cool. But I think the biggest problem with vehicles right now are all the electric weapons and grenades that can stop them in their tracks. It makes using vehicles not entirely pointless, but it does drastically hinder the fun in having them because there's just an abundance of ways to stop them. So I think it'd be cool if the electric weapons remain in the game but are reworked a little bit. I'd like to see the electric weapons still affect players but not vehicles, and return the plasma pistol back to its former glory, where that's the only weapon that fully charged can disable a vehicle. I think it adds a lot more skill to disabling vehicles because you have to time your shots, and it doesn't make it nearly as easy having the ability to stop them with all the electric weapons. So keep them in the game, let them affect players the same way, but don't let them affect vehicles as they have been, because it really honestly just ruins the fun of vehicles. So game modes and maps are a big one for me. It's cool to see they've added a social playlist, and some of the modes in there are a lot of fun. I think the low gravity endless Kneeler mode is pretty fun. I think the rockets and repulsors is fun. Kong Slayer is pretty cool. All the ones that are in there currently are fun, but I think you could do so much more with it. So I'm hoping over time 343 adds just a ton more. And I think through Forge, which I'll talk about in a bit as well, that players can come up with a lot of cool ideas as well. And that social playlist could just be massive with an insane amount of custom modes. Because the Sandbox Infinite has, I know it's such a cliche now, a lot of people have said this, but infinite potential truly. There's so much you can do with it, with the repulsor, the grapple hook, and all the weapons, not to mention all the weapons they can add into the game. I'm also hoping down the road, as they begin to release seasons more regularly, they can add at least 1 to 2 maps, if not every month, every other month, whatever's feasible for 343. And I'm specifically hoping to see a classic maps playlist eventually. I think it'd be cool over time if 343 could drip feed classic maps in addition to new maps coming out. Let's say season 4 rolls around, we have a new arena map that's brand new big team map, but also they throw in a classic map as well. I know there's rumors of Avalanche returning, rumors of Narrows returning. So I'd love to see if the best maps from Halo's history eventually wind up in Infinite. And not to get too off track, but that ultimately depends on the player population, because if you only have a few thousand players online and most of them are sticking to one or two playlists, it's difficult to divvy up all those different playlists like an MCC. But an MCC system at some point for Infinite would also be a huge benefit to just variety and fresh experiences every time you hop on. And with the Forge beta coming soon, I'm hoping 343 can quickly add a custom games browser, because what I've seen from Forge already is truly mind-blowing, and it's only going to get better from here. So I'm hoping that we can jump into player-created content as soon as possible. And I also hope 343 can implement the best from the community into playlists as often as possible. I know you got to play test them and make sure there's not any bugs with player-created content, but it'd be awesome if the best content that players are creating can get plugged into standard multiplayer as we go along. Would be amazing. My next idea is also pretty unnecessary, but it's something a few other games do that I've always thought's really cool. I'd like to see multiple times a day on maps if possible. Hunt Showdown does it, Overwatch is now doing it. And I've seen some of this in Forge leaks already. I think I've seen Bazaar at night or like completely destroyed. It'd be cool if either 343 or Forge creators create the same maps at different times of day in pre-rendered lighting, whether it's morning, afternoon, night. I just think it'd be fun to have multiple times a day of maps. That way, if you get a repeat of a map or playing on the same map repeatedly, which sometimes happen, it'd be cool if you're just playing at different times of day. It's not necessary, it doesn't change the experience overall, but just a different look provides a slightly different feel. It keeps things fresh. Now, there's a lot 343 could do with new weapons. I have seen the leaks for the DMR. It's called something else now. I think it's called the Bandit Rifle. It's been reworked a little bit, looks pretty cool, but no one knows for sure until we get our hands on it later on next year. And I only have a few ideas for new weapons right now. There's a lot 343 could do. I'm sure they have a lot in the pipeline that we're going to work on over time. But building up the sandbox and managing balance, I'm sure is very challenging, but it's very exciting for the player. Notably, I'd love to see the Magnum return and have it serve sort of as a powerful hand cannon, kind of like Leon's hand cannon in Resident Evil 4. That's a slow rate of fire. Of course, this is very different from the Halo 1 Magnum, I get that, but I think it'd be cool if they took a different approach, because the current sidekick, I think is a great pistol in the game, but it'd be cool if this functioned completely differently. I think it'd be cool if it's a 3-shot kill, but you got to be very precise with a slow rate of fire, so you got to be careful about your shots, but I think it'd be cool, and in my head it sounds really rewarding to have a pistol like that. I'd love to see 2 shotguns be added to the game. I love the current Bulldog, and the Bulldog's a lot of fun, but for the sake of nostalgia and a different experience, I think it'd be cool if they brought back the classic shotgun, and functions pretty much the same as it always has. It has a wider spread and shorter range. And I'd also think it'd be cool if Halo added a double barrel shotgun similar to the Super Shotgun from Doom, especially now that we have a grapple hook. I think it'd be cool if it had an extremely wide spread with a very short range of damage, so you gotta be right up in someone's face to deal full damage. But it sounds really fun to me to get a drop on someone with a grapple hook, fly in and blast them with a double barrel shotgun similar to Doom. There are many other things you can do with weapons as well, but just off the top of my head, those are a few that I think would be really cool. As far as social features, I would love to see pre- and post-game lobbies return. I know 343 has their reasons for removing them, but I think that really adds to the feeling of community in Halo, at least in my experience. Again, I've been a fan since day one, and they've been a staple of that experience. I know they can be toxic, but ultimately I've had a great experience over the years with pre- and post-game lobbies. I'd also love the ability to party up with teammates that you play really well with, especially if you're playing alone. It's always nice to make new friends, new teammates. That'd be a huge plus. Also, a map veto system. I don't truly hate any map in Infinite. There are some that I definitely dislike, but I think a map veto system is always good just to give players the option to vote on what they want to play. And with Forge coming, I think it's paramount to have file share return, just to add your favorite created content to your file share for players to download. There may be a better way to do that now, a more modern take on file share, but something to share your favorite creations with your friends in the community, I think would only benefit Halo Infinite going forward. I don't have much to share in the campaign for now. I actually reviewed Halo Infinite in its original state for COD Connected. I've linked that down below if you want to hear my in-depth thoughts on the campaign as it stands. But going forward, I think there's also, again, infinite potential for expansions on the Zeta Halo ring. You could do side stories with Arbiter, you could do a story with an ODST squad, one with Spartan Locke, and also would give the developers time to use their current world and just redesign it a bit in different biomes, have a desert portion of the planet, a snowy part of the planet, and just tell short but sweet open world adventures with these other characters. Could be a lot of fun. And lastly, I do have thoughts about the rumored Battle Royale mode that's all but confirmed at this point, that's coming eventually. I have a lot of thoughts I could share on that, so if you've enjoyed what I've shared about the current state of Halo, what I'd like to see in the future, please let me know. I'll make that video next and we can talk about Battle Royale. I don't even know if all this is possible. It may not even be necessary. Some of it may sound very dumb to you. But if you're a Halo fan, if you believe in Halo Infinite, or if you even moderately enjoyed Halo Infinite over the last year, please share your thoughts down below. I love talking about this stuff. I'd love to hear ideas of your own, what you think of mine. And I really just hope to create a conversation with this video. Because again, I love Halo, I still believe in it, and I'd love to see it thrive. Hopefully 343 can either get more support or funding, or I know they've reworked their staff a little bit to have the game improve, because I don't think it's dead in the water just yet. Not to get too sappy, but I always like to think of the quotes from Halo, you know, like a Spartan's never dead, just missing in action. I like to think Halo's a franchise isn't dead, it's just missing in action. It can still thrive. I believe in it. So my name's Garrett Drake. This is It's Obvious Gaming. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.